Augustinsky, they used to come to visit. There were quite a few movements there.
This is Kim Feinberg in Johannesburg, South Africa, interviewing Mr. Willie Ungar, the 28th of June 1998. Willie, tell me now, what happened from here? Tell me a little bit first about the Friday nights that you used to have at home, or the Yontavim, or did you go away on holidays?
We are going back, no, we used to visit each other. I had my my uncle and my cousins. It was just 30 kilometers away. Another town was Ushhorod, and we used to visit them, you know, quite often. If holidays, I remember as a child, I used to, when I had school holidays, I used to go to them to visit them. Though they were younger from me, and we used to go. I remember back. I mean, we had a very big shul there, and I had to go Friday night and Saturday morning. I spent most of the time with my father and of course my grandfather in the shul. And we used to come home, and we never, I remember we had cholent. My mother used to make, but that we had to go, I remember taking it away because she didn't cook Saturdays. As I said, we were quite religious. I mean, we had a kosher home and religious, I wouldn't say that overdone, but we were religious. I know Saturdays we used to stay at home. Actually, we never. All right, we didn't have what to travel, but we were Shomer Shabbat. I remember not to go out during the day, sitting at home with my grandfather, grandmother, and we used to walk it. I used to go to visit my grannies, my grandmother I used to visit, but it was all in the town. So that's what we used to do Saturdays, visiting each other and having a lunch, you know, cholent, I remember my mother used to make.
Will you start telling me a little bit about the occupation? What happened from here? When do you realize that there was starting to change?
Started to change. It started already in 38, 39, when it started to change. And there were disturbances, there were problems there. But my father had still the workshop, and there were still workers there. And we started to slowly came in new regulations, and we started, I can't remember which year, we started to wear these to school, Mogendovets, yellow.
In 1939, who started bringing in the regulations?
The Hungarians. And I would say the Hungarians were worse. I can't say that against the Germans, but I remember the Hungarians.
What regulations did they bring in?
They brought all the time that Jews can't go here, Jews can't go there. You know, in certain streets, Jews couldn't. They were concentrated. That was it's called the Jewish street. It was a Jewish street. Actually, I went to see it where most of the Jews were concentrated. There were a lot of shuls there, and it was already like a ghetto. The, this part where we stayed, that was the modern part. We were taken to the ghetto. Not far from us was the ghetto, so we had to get out. I remember before we were, there were disturbances. I remember my father already then started to, I was the oldest son, so we had a cellar, like on the, but like everybody, from summer you used to prepare for winter the wood and so on, and everything went, at this cellar was like a fridge. You didn't have fridges those days, so everything, from one day to the other, if because it was cold there, and everything went there down. I remember if you cooked something or prepared, my mother used to prepare even jams and prepare for winter everything, and cucumbers, everything went to the cellar. And I remember with my father, we had Persian carpets, and he took me, he trusted me, I was the oldest, and we used to go to dig under there, under the flat, under the house, and we cemented everything, but it was, somebody heard it, and when we were taken away to the concentration camp, when we came back, we didn't find nothing there. And winter, I know, going back, that we didn't have fridge, we had double glazing, and everything, if you wanted to be frozen, you put it in between the two glasses. It was two, actually, knobs and two windows, actually. And in the middle, there where they used to keep everything, because they didn't have fridges, and it was very, very cold. So you could keep everything without freezers. Going back to my father started also to dig again. I helped to put away jewelry, also in the same building, because we were the only, it was like a little townhouse type flat we were, so it belonged to us, and we used to go and dig and putting jewelry there away, because we were working, with jewelry all the time. And I remember when they were taking us to the ghetto, they took him from the ghetto with some other people also, They took the rich people, they knew that
Willie, who took him?
They was him, the police.
Okay, these were...
These are specially
police?
trained. They were Hungarian and German. I think they were Hungarians.
How old were you at this stage?
I was, I'm going back in 43, I was 13.
So how long were the Hungarians in power for?
In power until we were taken away from the ghetto in 44, in May 44, maybe April 44, to a concentration, it was a brick factory.
Okay, so Willie, let's go back to when the Hungarians were in power and the Germans haven't arrived yet.
Yeah.
What went on What did you see? What changes were taking place? What do you
Big.
remember?
We always heard they took Jews, and it's a funny thing. They used to go. They were famous Jews also there. They were from the Habsburg families, you know, and all intermarried. And I remember hearing always they took here one family, there one family, they took them away, and they were mostly taking them away because of the intermarriage. Yeah. We
And
had a
where
lot
would
of-
they take them?
We never heard. We never heard. But they were taken already then, those days. And of course, we heard a lot in Poland what happened, because we were bordering, but we were the Hungarian side, and we were bordering Poland, and we heard, I mean, there it's what with the ghetto and so on, in Warsaw and so on. There they killed a lot of people. We heard about these killings.
When you heard about these killings, did you ever think of leaving?
No, we couldn't leave. We couldn't leave. We couldn't. I mean, we had, you know, the family. I practically, I don't think that anybody left. I know my friends, I mean, we are still going to school, but we never thought of leaving it, and not my parents never thought leaving this place. I mean, you couldn't leave. Where could you live with children? I mean, it's all over was occupied. You see, my father's side was already occupied by the Germans since 41. 41, the other part of Czechoslovakia. And I had an uncle who was taken, the younger brother of my father. He was in Prague. Now that was occupied by the Germans, and they took them already in the 40s. Germany occupied Czechoslovakia, and then they gave part to the Germans. That was the Oberschlesia. Certain parts were taken away from Czechoslovakia, and then he was taken to Theresienstadt already in the 41, 42. We didn't know about the concentration camps yet, but already there, and he died in the concentration camp.
Will you tell me, were there any horrors that you can remember from the Hungarian stage? Did anything happen to your own family?
It's a bit up. I remember going back. My father, we were digging and so on. So when we were taken to the ghetto, they took my father, and they beat him up, and he had to confess that he's got the jewelry and where he's got it, and he took them there, and they dug out all the jewelry. He had quite a big. I made it with him those days, the hole, and we cemented everything. You couldn't see nothing, but he had to give it to them. And one part, what he took me. We had very good friends who had a farm. They used to sell that cattle and that horses and so on. Very good friends. Their name was Elephant like elephant. And my father was very, very friendly with their families. There were boys there. And the boys left, we were young, and the mother stayed there alone. The father died long time ago there from the elephants, the friends. And the mother was looking after the little farm where I went actually, when I went with the children, we went to visit there. It's still a little farm, but somebody took it. So I went and with my father dug there in the farm, in one of the rooms, also dug and put jewelry in. And then they had they had horses, and they had a chappie who was working with the horses those days, and he knew us very well. So when we came back from the concentration camp, we went straight there with my father to try to get it out. But he was there, he occupied, nobody, because everybody is gone there. I mean, they took them to concentration camp, the old lady was there, they took her, and he remained with this little farm. And we went there, and my father told him, look, you know me, and I had there, I got some jewelry which we took. He said he knows that we put jewelry, he watched us when we did it. So he said, my father said, look, if you are allowing me to take it out, then you will get half on it. He said, yes, you can go. My father wasn't so stupid. I was with him, and he started to measure. He knew exactly where it is, but to make a big fuss of it, and he started to measure the room exactly, and he watched it, and he told him, bring the shovel, and he said, the father said, here it is. It wasn't there. It was completely in a different, he wanted to test him. He was in a completely different room. And when he started to dig, he threw us out. So this jewelry is still there, because nobody knows. It's still there. Of course, we couldn't do nothing, because we left afterwards this place, Mukash, and it remained. And who knew? I mean, we told them, the friends and so on, but everybody left there, But it's still, and it's not only for us, I'm sure other people, and they were very rich people, these people who had the farm, and I'm sure they had also that. But never, the son never went back, where my father was friendly with them, and nobody went back. You couldn't go back, you see, because the Russians occupied it, and after the war, you were just lucky to get out from Munkaj and not to go back.
Okay, Willie, let's go on to the German occupation now. What is your first memory of the Germans occupying your town?
Occupying the town, as I say, that's already, it must have been, we were wearing, always there were new and new laws there. We were wearing the yellow, what's the name, the Mogen David we had to wear. And they were beating up Jews. They made fun, especially with the people with the payas, If somebody was, I remember as a child, walking on the street, and they used to be there, the Germans, and if somebody came with what's name, spares, past it, they were there with scissors, and they used to cut. Or if somebody came with a strammel, they used to throw out the strammel, or they used to hit them. That's what people were already scared to go out. And we were in the ghetto. We were in the ghetto. I mean, a few people were staying together. They took us out from the house.
How did that happen, Willie? How did they take you from your home? Do you remember what happened the day that they came to take you out?
No, I think we had to move. We had to leave whatever we could, and they moved us to a ghetto not far from us. I think there were two ghettos altogether. One part of town where all the Jews were staying, a lot of Jews, religious Jews. It was one ghetto, and not far from our place where we used to stay, it was a bazaar, it was a big place, and there were took the people, and they used to go, I remember every day my father was taken to do exercise, they took them here, cleaning the everything, you know, with the young, a lot of young people. I don't know why my father, he wasn't taken, but a lot of younger people were taken away. They were not, didn't remain a lot, already taken away to the working camps, but not to help the army, because then already when the Germans occupied it, it was in 43, 44, already the Russians came forward. So they took from there the younger people. I don't say young like me, I would say over 20 and even 40s, and they took them to help in the army, and a lot didn't come back. A lot. They took them to the front, you see, to shield the Germans. So that was like a working camp. They were helping there, cooking there for the Germans, and outside. But as I say, that's what I heard. It didn't happen to me because I was just a child. But I know that they took away. My uncle was taken away from my mother's side. The two uncles, the younger, I mean, they were already in their 20s, 25. So they were all, and they never came back. They were not taken to the concentration camp. They were taken to the working camps, and they never came back. Or they were shot by the Russians because they were shields, you know, for the or by the Hungarians and Germans, but they didn't come back. But we were taken to the camp, and I remember when they took, you know, when they took us.
Would you describe the ghetto for me, please?
We were in the ghetto. I can't remember much, and we were not a long time. Maybe we were 1-2 weeks. Where they put us together in the ghetto. We didn't go already to school. We couldn't go. We were locked there. It was, I think it was barbed wire just around, you know. And I can't, as a child, I can't remember. I remember when they took us away from the ghetto. When they took us to the, to the brick factory where they put everybody together, and we were walking and people were laughing, the outside, the Hungarians, the friends, whom supposed to be friends to the Jews, everybody was looking. And we were just taken, you know, on the streets, taken. And I remember my father had still some jewelry. He had some coins, and he was taking it with in the pocket. So we thought we were walking with the whole family, walking, and he said that he's got, and he doesn't think that he should keep it with him because they can search. So it was a house when we passed, and we remembered when we passed a little house, he put it inside between the bricks. It must have been about 10 or 12 coins those days. It was a sovereign. So he put it away, and I knew about it. Now when we came back, it's a funny thing, when we came back, we didn't find nothing. But my father remembered this house, and this house was demolished. It was during the war, you know, I mean, after we left already, the Russians moved in, and it was a war. This house was demolished, and my father recognized it, and he brought, when we started with the factory there, with the workshop in Munkac, just to establish it, and he took, and he said, look, here at Masby, and we find them. Would you believe it? Yeah, we find between the rubble, we wouldn't get away. He said, look, I put it here, and we find, I don't know if we find 12, or we find only 10 or 8, but I remember we find that. But no, nothing else. Everything was taken, but he find them after the war. Yeah, and also I remember we used to put, he had a shoe, those days we used to try to put everything away. So he used to, high heels, a winter shoe, which he carried with him, and all the time, and he had also gold there inside, also coins. And he was even in the concentration camp. We were with this shoe, but it was taken afterwards away. But nobody knew, but I remember he had to leave the shoe, but it was still in the concentration camp. Now going back to when we were taken to the, from the ghetto, we were taken, as I say, everybody was looking, didn't do nothing. We were taken to this brick factory, and we were there a few days, and there we didn't know. They were killing them, people. Mostly they went then against the religious people, against the rabbis. I actually asked